Good afternoon, everyone. Give about 30 seconds for people to roll in and then we'll get started. I will record this session as well for those that miss it or miss the beginning. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be talking about screen readers. My name is Danielle Painter. I am part of Justin's team with the digital government and primarily work as a developer to work with the distribution for agency platform for your digital sites. I am familiar with screen readers, and I wanted to kind of share a little bit of a demo to what screen readers do. I do have a few slides. I do have few slides, but a lot of information. We may not get all of it for the sake of time, but I will make sure that these slides are available and the speaker notes are also available for you as well. So you guys can see where I was going with the presentation. If we had, a full hour to discuss all this stuff, we can go on and on and on about accessibility, which a lot of you are very familiar with by now, at least in the terms and some of the best practices that we do. Before we get started with digesting all the information, I did want to bring up kind of a thinking thought for you. Screen readers read everything out loud, and if you were to read your website, the content that you put on your website, the way it's ordered, the way you put navigation, the buttons, images, if you read it out loud to yourself, does it make sense? And do you think it actually would be seen by screen readers or other assistive technologies that we have? Screen readers matter to you as a content editor because there is an audience that reads by not even looking at the screen. They rely on screen readers, and everything you write, everything you put on the page, the intention is that the website will read it out loud, or the screen reader will read the website out loud. It becomes more of an audio. Just imagine the headers that you use, the links that you put in, the alternative text that you use, all of that gets read out loud, word for word. Is that information going to help them find what they need? Is there too much going on onto the page itself? That is what we're going to kind of explore a bit with the demo today. As content editors in digital government, we're not here just to create content. We're here to serve a public. That means it's in our best efforts to make sure everything that we provide is accessible for anyone that is in the state as a citizen or wanting to visit or wanting to learn about what the services we provide. And it's going to include people who are blind, who might have low vision, who may have some other disability, but it extends beyond that. You have neurological disorders, you have speech impairments, and you even have moments where it might be a situational limitation, bright sunlight, environments without audio, if you have video displayed, slow internet connections, limited bandwidth, the rural areas, the developing areas, language barriers, all of that is what accessibility aims to help address. We know that it is going to be a legal thing, legal requirement from the DOJ coming down in 2026. And we're already halfway through. We're in 2025, so it's coming down. And we've probably heard it endlessly by now. Think about the public health information, unemployment benefits, voting registration, legal rights for Arizona citizens, the travel ID. If someone can't access that because of how the content is written, or even how dynamic things are developed, if you're a developer or displaying as a designer, we're putting a barrier where there shouldn't be one. And that's about, equity and all fairness for everybody to access. The good news is that this is an effort that we've all heard. It takes the whole village. It's not one single person, and you don't need to be a developer to start making this content accessible. Some of the biggest impacts happen right where you're already working on in headings, links, images, and the language that you use every day. Small changes make the biggest difference. I did pull up some stats that were given by WebAIM for a screen reader about a year and a half ago now, but they published it. It's worth looking into the survey itself. It's obviously not representing all the screen readers user. It's a selected handful, but the numbers are worth having in the back of your head as you think about writing the content, just to know what kind of people that you're presenting information for. We know that screen readers are a software that reads out loud for content in an electronic device. It will convert text to speech or braille. So instead of looking at your content like headings, buttons, or links, the user is actually just hearing it out loud one by one. They'll hear something like link, register to vote, heading, emergency preparedness. The software really does not care how your page actually looks. It is more caring about what you are placing in the structure and the order of your content. And the elements that you put in your page, your headings, your lists, your image descriptions, that's what's guiding the user through the page. Who uses these the most? It's going to primarily be people who are blind or have low vision, but there's also learning disabilities or reading disabilities. Think in terms of dyslexia as one of them. People who have motor impairments who may not be able to use a mouse are some of the, even a limited temporary thing. Those are the type of people that would typically use a screen reader, and it's in a good amount. If I remember right, there was a lot of, I think the WebAIM survey mentioned that most of the people who use these things are sitting in the UK or they're sitting in the US, North America areas. And the numbers just grow for other countries as well each year. In more recent years, we're seeing more people kind of go from just strictly a desktop and laptop situation to mobile or tablet. Some use both interchangeably. This slide I wanted to share a little bit about what people are saying or mentioning in the surveys about what they find useful in the screen readers and websites, how they navigate through it. These users rely on keyboard shortcuts with the screen to jump around. For example, the screen reader might press a key from one heading to the next. That's why it's important to have a chronological order with your headings. But it only really works if the content's properly structured and not jumping around. If you ever have used a site or come across a site that's broken for a layout, when you go to the mobile device, it's a little like using a screen reader. It gets frustrating, confusing, slows people down. And in this day and age, chances are if the user is very frustrated, they're just going to leave your site. They're not going to continue looking. They'll probably go back to Google, see if they can find the answer through Google searching. And that's where what you do as a content editor to put these things together is very, very helpful. And it's very essential to be able to let people navigate what is on your page. So for the sake of time, so we can get a little bit to the demo and then let you guys eat for lunch, I did want to skim through these slides a little bit. I am going to share them out with the PDFs that go out for you guys to read. So you're welcome to see the speaker notes that I had that went along with these slides, since I'm going through these very, very quickly. I did want to show the numbers for what we've seen with desktop and laptops through that survey, just to give you an idea what kind of software actually exists out there. NVDA is open source, it's free, it's mostly used for Windows. You have JAWS, it's paid, also for Windows, VoiceOver for iOS, and Narrator for Windows as well. I will say very loosely, but in general, if things are good between two screen readers, if you dive into testing them, there isn't too much to worry about. But the biggest disclaimer I can say, which will be opposite of what I had just said, is no screen reader is the same. Not all screen readers will read the same across each browser, and there's varied technology levels between them. So not every screen reader is going to just behave the exact same. Good example is Narrator. It's still a couple years behind on the curve for screen readers. There's it's been a lot of improvements in the last year, but there's still a lot of false positives that screen reader will give if you're not very familiar with how to navigate with it. I've had one case where we used an image carousel and it was very heavily modified, coded. NVDA had no issues going through it, cycling through the pictures, picking it up, reading it out. Narrator did have an issue on the other hand, and it wasn't able to pick any of that up because the library was so modified. And sometimes the library just isn't accessible, and it's something a developer hates it very, very much, is when we learn that it's not accessible when it says it is. Very quickly, top 10 screen reader problems it's worth highlighting. Specifically, I noted 3 of them that you as content editors can probably consider when you guys put your content together. Interactive elements, links, buttons, and your main navigation. Those are probably the biggest ones you can have some of the most impact with. Interactive elements, I did mention libraries could be an issue. As developers can get very hung up with those. So you might end up being missing. I think some of you guys have seen in Moncito where there's missing ARIA attributes with some of the components. When you look through your reports for accessibility, that's where some of the hiccups get the most with those things. I've seen image carousels act endless, so they forever loop the screen reader into an ongoing, I think it's like a view more type loading, and it never actually goes back to the content type or the content that's within your page. For links, buttons, navigation, you usually want to be careful because there's not a whole lot of you could be very basic in what you do, but if you try to make things overly complex or you forget to change a link name from its URL to something useful, that entire URL becomes what's read in the screen reader. If you have very, very long links with no ability to break out to say, skip to main content, then every time you load a page, the screen reader is reading out every single link that is part of that navigation structure. And if you have 50 links or so, it's ongoing, and sometimes it can be a pain to try to skip through. You also want to pay attention to your generic words such as read more, view more. A lot of times there is not enough context surrounding that button or that link to give the individual who's listening to the screen reader an idea of where any of that goes. This slide I'll also make sure is available just to give you a link if you do want to play around with NVDA or voiceover or narrator on your own, or if you do have access to JAWS. WebAIM has a very nice comprehensive way of guiding you guys through evaluating web accessibility through your pages. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch presentation modes, and we'll go ahead and get started a little bit with kind of going through and listening what a screen reader actually provides. So let me mute myself real quick. if I think the audio is good when I unmute my other computer. We'll go through the agency platform site just to give an idea. I'm perfectly fine with pointing fingers and laughing at me. It's perfectly fine. We're still working on fixing this one little by little. And then I think I also have the Georgia website that it also does very, very well with screen readers, and we'll kind of go through that as well.
Meet. Clip Drupal clip. Site header banner landmark navigation landmark logo for agency platform graphic agency platform visited link agency platform home agency platform main landmark graphic a light bulb over a book with an abstract splatter background. Resources. Browse through our resources on your journey to create your new agency platform website. Clickable main landmark and see platform website. Logo for agency platform. Resources. Site header banner landmark navigation landmark main navigation landmark list with 7 items get started link. Ready to get started? Agency platform. Link skip to main content. Clickable navigation landmark list with 5 items link state of Arizona. Link visit open books. Link ombudsman citizens aid. Link register to vote. Link get the new travel ID out of list. Search az.gov edit. Button click. Site header banner landmark navigation landmark visited link graphic logo for agency platform. Visited link agency platform. Navigation landmark heading level 3 main navigation. List with 7 items link home. Collapsed sub-menu link about. Link FAQ. Link releases. Collapsed sub. If you are in Arizona state, Danielle. asdo.gov. Meet.
So with that, as you can see, there's a little bit of chaos. It kind of goes and jumps a little bit all over the place, just by letting it auto run based off of what we click. This is where organizing content and having proper labels, like the ARIA labels or screen reader only text, focus points is pretty viable with trying to navigate through some of these things. Usually if I hit refresh, it goes pretty straightforward, but we'll go look at Georgia real quick and unmute and refresh and we'll do it again.
Turn on Georgia.gov. Georgia.gov. Clickable banner landmark heading level 2 search the site. Enter your keywords. Edit. Button search. Button close. Main landmark heading level 1 welcome to Georgia.gov. Your starting place for living, growing, and thriving in the Peach State. Link learn more about welcome to Georgia.gov. Heading level 2 top access services. Link veggies icon. Link SNAP benefits. Link car icon. Link driving and vehicles. Link money bill icon. Link taxes and refunds. Link building icon. Link register a business. Link document icon. Link birth and death certificates. Link red file icon. Moving to Georgia checklist heading clickable level 2. Under the gold dome heading level 2. Georgia surplus tax refund heading clickable level 2. E. Money bill icon. Heading clickable level 2 Georgia surplus tax refund. HB 112 allows for a tax refund out of the state surplus, allows 6 to 8 weeks for it to be issued, deadline. Link check your eligibility. Clickable graphic clickable President Carter wears a gray houndstooth jacket and turquoise bolo tie. Broad setting Danielle. Meet.
So obviously that was just a little bit cleaner. I can go through more pages if you guys are interested to hear some more. Didn't want to take up completely all the time. I'm also not sure if you guys are if you guys typically ask questions during these calls or if you guys do it at the end as well. But I know we have, I think, 5 minutes left in this session. Is there anything you guys want to see specifically through a screen reader?
Danielle, I have a question. Maybe it's obvious to everyone but me, but so you're using the screen reader. How do I, when it lists off these items, how do I know, how do I get to the item I want? Like if there's a link to one of the items that are read off, how do I get to that link then once it's read off?
So we use keyboard navigation. We use a lot with the keyboard when we use the screen reader itself. And what the user is going to listen is just going to listen to tell where that structure, where that moment is. And when they hear it, so where it says like services-AZ, link services-AZ, then the user can interact using, I think it's spacebar or enter, depending on how they have it set up with their screen reader, to enter into that link and move on to the next page. So they do have to sit and listen to all of that, or they use the keyboard to cycle through all of that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there any other questions?
Now, Maria put a question in the chat. How do they read only the links?
So there is a set of keyboard functions. So like you have the typical, we cycle through the tab. I think K is for NVIDIA, K is the shortcut key that they're familiar with that will just pick up all the links that obviously is focusable. If the link isn't focusable or if there's not a text that's focusable, it'll actually skip it. Shift tab will go backwards. I think there's also an element list, if I remember right, that we can pull the headings and landmarks and links. It'll just list it out and it'll skip the rest of the text. One of the slides that we'll have shared, they'll give the URLs to WebAIM, and they have a pretty extensive list of what all the shortcuts are if you're not familiar with them, and kind of a good idea of what to check as you learn to use them. Kimberly asked in chat that they heard the screen reader read aloud the sliver bar, and if it's safe to assume that screen readers will do that to each time. Yes, they will. You typically want that, obviously, because you want them to be able to go into that. But one of the things that I've learned as I'm kind of going through all the sites over the last few months is might be good to add a skip to content or skip to next navigation link at the very top that's maybe hidden from desktop, so they can skip that each time. So thankfully, it's for short amount of links, but it is something that does get read each time. Yes. And one thing I'll mention too, it's always worth exploring. It's always worth looking to see what other people do. There is no, like, we have standards for a lot of this, a lot of the accessibility and screen reader optimization, but it's always interesting to see how other agencies, how other nonprofits businesses, how they kind of go around it their own way to meet the standards, but sometimes they come up with a unique best habit that works good for your situation as well. So it's always fun to explore and see what those they do. We'll do Dina's question and then Maria's.
Great. So I have a question on the 4 readers that were recommended. Do we have an update on which of these have been approved for use by Homeland?
I don't personally, I don't see an issue with any of them actually being an issue. Narrator is default with Windows, so that just comes with it. VoiceOver is default for Apple, and that just comes with it. NVIDIA tends to be a really, really popular one. I know when I used to work with the service desk way back when, I know there was quite a bit of people with JAWS, so I imagine JAWS is available if you have the funding for it, that you can also install. The screen readers are just applications or software apps, so they're not going to be a browser extension.
Okay, thank you.
And then Maria's question was, do empty alt text get skipped? And the answer for that is yes, they just get skipped. Otherwise, that's all I had. I don't know if there's a closing specialty you guys do, Alan, or
Nope, that's it, as long as there aren't any questions. It looks like Kimberly raised her hand, but the video will be made available and the slides on the AMS digital dash page. But go ahead, Kimberly.
Hi, for the images that get skipped without alt text, if the images are links, will those get read?
so yes, the links themselves will get read. Sometimes, depending on the screen reader, it's going to read the whole link.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just empty in the actual text itself. So like we've had a like leadership panels recently was flagged for having no text within A within the href. The links, some of it, the links just got read out. Some of it just said link. That's all it did. But it didn't actually go into the content itself. So it's going to vary, but usually the link will get picked up, and what you'll end up wanting to utilize is, ARIA labels, or I think narrator bases itself off of the title attribute instead of an ARIA label. And making sure that you have screen reader only text as well.
No. Thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions, thank you all for joining today. And thank you, Danielle. This is great information.